Ruben Amorim sacked by Man United this morning. Huge breaking news. I can't quite believe it, to be fair. I'm a little bit surprised. I thought he'd be there till the end of the season, but we're going to take a look at why he was sacked, what led to it, and whether it was the right decision, what Man United do next. But before we get into that, like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications so you know when I drop a video. But let's get to it, people. Amorim sacked. Man United drew with Leeds yesterday, that huge derby. Not really sure why it's such a big derby, by the way, Man United Leeds, but we hear the locals, it really means a lot to them. So the Leeds players and fans, they were up for it. And Man United end up drawing 1-1. The game was decent. Leeds had their chances. Calvert-Lewin went close, hit the post in the first half. But Man United weren't great, to be honest. They weren't great. They drew a lead to 16th in the table at the minute, so it's not great. Optically, it doesn't look great. And when you consider some of their recent results, drawing with Wolves, the likes of Bournemouth, it just wasn't going great from a fan perspective. And probably the board probably expected a lot more improvement from Amorim, considering the money they spent in the summer. But he's gone. He's gone. Following on from that draw with Leeds yesterday, he spoke in the press conference and he essentially said that he'll be in his job for 18 more months, which is the length of his contract, and then they'll move on. He said he came into the club to be the manager, not the head coach. And there's suggestions before the transfer window started that Amorim was frustrated with the club, that their lack of movement in the January window would frustrate him, as there wasn't real expectation that Man United would be spending loads of money. You've got to remember, they missed out on European football altogether, not just Champions League, no Europa League or Conference League. So they haven't got, let's say, money coming in. Man United are a commercial giant. They can still spend money like they did on Mbeumo, Cunha and Sesko. But I don't think Amorim really thought the money that he wanted to be spent would be spent. So he started talking in the media a lot, not just after the Leeds game. Before that, he suggested more needs to be done to the squad. Of course, they've lost Mbeumo, Ahmad to AFCON. So the squad's a little depleted. They've got injuries to like Maguire, De Ligt. There's a few others injured as well. Fernandes, of course, Bruno Fernandes, key player out. So he probably would have felt the squad needed a bit more. But when you look at some of the recent results that I sort of mentioned, you know, they drew with Leeds, Wolves, Bournemouth, West Ham. This is all in the last month. And the Bournemouth game, for me, was the concern because they'd beaten Wolves 4-1. So they were in great form. They score 4, but then they score 4 again at home, but they concede 4. And for me, conceding 4 at home is just never a good thing. Conceding 4 altogether is never a good thing, but at home isn't great, especially when Old Trafford is one of the fortresses of world football. But it's not been in recent years, to be honest, since Sir Alex Ferguson left. People probably quite look forward to going to Old Trafford, but it's still a tough place to go. But Amorim, he persisted with this formation. You know, they beat Newcastle playing a 4-3-3, and then he goes back to 3-4-3. Maybe that has to do with, you know, injuries to players and wanting to feel more secure, because I do think the 3 at the back is a safer formation. You're probably less likely to concede certain chances. So I get his idea, but that formation seems to be the sort of doing of Amorim, where he's stuck with that formation for so long throughout the whole season. Last year, even when they were struggling and they finished 15th, lost the Europa League final to Tottenham, he persisted and he actually said, I will never change my ideas, my formation, my philosophy. I don't know if the word is arrogance. I don't know if we can call Amorim arrogant, because it worked in Portugal for Sporting Lisbon. We all know Arsenal's with the Gyökeres, my team. I'm a big fan of Gyökeres. He worked very well under Amorim. He scored a lot of goals. So you almost can't blame Amorim for wanting to stick to his guns, to stick to his idea, the formation that's won him silverware. But winning silverware in Portugal, winning silverware in England are two different things. I don't think you can necessarily correlate the two. I think you can actually probably be more experimental with your formations and your tactics in Portugal, just because the quality is not as high. In the Premier League, the quality throughout the league is so high. It's actually, I think it's gotten better. I mean, I'm looking at the table here. You've got Tottenham in 13th, Bournemouth in 15th. Bournemouth, who have Anton Semenyo, who looks like he's about to go to Man City. The likes of Fulham in 11th, Everton in 12th, Sunderland in 8th, Brentford in 7th. it's a weird league, the Premier League. There's quality throughout. There's quality players in every team. You can't really take it for granted. And I just think Amorim thought, if I play my way, my philosophy, my formation, it's going to work eventually. But it hasn't. Did he speak too much in the media? For me, probably. He didn't deal with the media well. Speaking too much is probably the wrong thing. I think he probably said the wrong thing too many times in the media, and he probably just needed to, I don't know, just toe the line a little bit. Sometimes less is more. I think Mikel Arteta is very good at dealing with the media in terms of he shuts a lot of things down and just says no. Sometimes a one-word answer is better than an explanation. You look at his national counterpart, Jose Mourinho, he almost had the media in his hand. He would almost use the media to sort of get in the mind of his opposition manager, get in his own players' heads and motivate them. He would use the media because he could. He was very charming, Mourinho. Amorim didn't have that same charm, not the way he did when he first came in. When he first came in, he's a young manager, winning multiple leagues in Sporting, and then he comes in, good-looking young manager. Man United fans are feeling excited, just got rid of Ten Hag. And optics are a thing, you know. Mikel Arteta gets it all the time. Optics are a thing. And Amorim, young, fresh manager, you're thinking, here we go. This is a guy that can lead us for a few years. But when you're not getting the results, that aura just slowly just trickles away. And I think that's what happened with Amorim. I think in the press conferences, the media just ate him up. I just think they ate him up. And eventually, time told. Time told, and we're in this position we're in now. And it's interesting because Jim Ratcliffe spoke in the summer, or I think maybe previous to the Europa League final, and he said you have to look at Mikel Arteta at Arsenal and the suffering that he went through in the club, and that football's not an overnight thing. And it's not. He's right. I actually respect Man United for giving him this time. I think they've given him as long as they could until it got stale. I think Man United was starting to get stale. I think with Arsenal, we'd had such a weird time, even during the Arsene Wenger years. It wasn't like United where they went from winning the league with Fergie to what they're doing now, where they sort of win a cup here and there. We've sort of, well, we haven't won the league title for over 20 years. So for Arsenal fans, it's much more about becoming challengers and being in the conversation for the title again. I think Man United want to be the best, and that's sort of it. So the pressure's high. The pressure's super high. And I think Amorim sort of suffered from that. And I think Jim Ratcliffe maybe hasn't realised how much pressure is at Man United, and the fans, what they're used to, what most of their fan base saw growing up: Champions Leagues, Premier Leagues, Cristiano Ronaldo, Rooney, Roy Keane, Andy Cole, these legends. There's so many great players that played for Man United, and it's tough for their fans, I think, to accept where they're at this point in time, if I'm honest. But it leads to question: what's next? What is next for Man United? And I actually think they've got some exciting options out there. I don't think they could tempt Unai Emery out of Villa. I think it'd actually be naive of Emery to leave Villa for United. It would obviously make sense from probably a personal perspective, financially, the size of the club. But the project and what he's got going on at Aston Villa is too exciting for me for him to let go. They're level on points with Man City after they drew with Chelsea yesterday, which, by the way, I said could happen. Said on Footy Judge Mo stream, don't write Chelsea off despite the manager loss. And they got the draw. But Villa are in a good place. Why would you leave Aston Villa when you're doing such a good job there? Let's see. It's happened before. I wouldn't blame Unai Emery for going to Man United. It's a bit of a career progression and maybe a chance to show people in England that he can succeed at a top club. So that's one option. And of course, Enzo Maresca, who left Chelsea last week. I think he just left. I don't think he was sacked. Some people think he was sacked. I think it was a breakdown in relations, similar to Amorim. I think Maresca was unhappy with the hierarchy for different reasons. I think Maresca's had success and wanted more support. I'm not sure where Amorim's basis of more support comes from, but Maresca's an option. I know there's strong rumours Pep Guardiola won't be at Man City come the end of the season. He'll leave. This is his final season. And Man City sounded out Maresca. Maresca informed Chelsea that he had spoken to City about potentially replacing Pep. And you couldn't blame Maresca for wanting to wait for that Man City role. They've got a great team. The history of City in the last 10 years is very strong. So you wouldn't blame Maresca to take City. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he looked at Man United and saw that as an opportunity. Level on points with Chelsea. He plays a completely different style of football to Amorim, different formation. And Man United aren't in a bad place. They're sixth, same points to Chelsea as I just said. 3 points behind Liverpool in fourth. and it's probably going to be the top 5 that get Champions League football. Brentford and Sunderland are below them on 30 points in 7th and 8th, respectively. So I don't think this is an end of the world case for Man United. I think they can have a good season. They can have a decent run in the FA Cup. If they secure Champions League football, everything looks different. I think Amorim spoke himself into this. I don't think he needed to do this. I don't think the situation's as bad as it has been. One thing I've learned from football is it's never as good and it's never as bad. It's sort of life, really. It's never as good as you think, never as bad as you think. It's usually somewhere in between. So I think Man United can do a lot this season. I actually expect them to do more. I think they've got the players. I think without Bruno Fernandes, they're a much worse team. But yeah, let's see. Man United, it's one of them. They've sacked Ruben Amorim. Amorim's out the door. Darren Fletcher will, of course, now take interim charge, which is interesting. I don't know if there's anything to read into this. His 2 sons have come on in previous games, Tyler Fletcher and Jack Fletcher. Jack Fletcher is the one who's played more games than Tyler, I believe. But yeah, I wonder if there's anything in that. It's just interesting, isn't it, that the 2 Fletcher brothers have started playing games. Amorim sacked, and then Darren comes in. I hear Darren Fletcher's a really good coach at academy level. He's very well respected at Man United. Him having his 2 sons at the club help. It's a family connection. A few of the academy boys and maybe even a few of the older ones like Mainu obviously would have grown up watching Darren Fletcher. He's a bit of an iconic figure at Man United, won Champions League titles. So I don't think that's a bad thing. You've seen it at previous clubs, Lampard, at Chelsea, Arteta at Arsenal. It happens. It can work with former players go back and they sort of lift the club. So I don't think Darren Fletcher, for the time being, is a bad thing. Who knows? Maybe he does a good enough job and Darren Fletcher becomes the next Man United manager. I wouldn't write that off either. It's happened before. But yeah, that is it. The breaking news. Ruben Amorim has been sacked by Man United. Let's see what happens next. Let's see if they bring in a replacement. They stick with Darren Fletcher. And let's see where Man United finish, because I think they can still do decent things this season. But that's it from me. Leave me a like, subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications so you know when I drop a video. And until then, I'll see you next time. Peace!